I've got some really exciting news to show you today. I have become a DVC member and I want to talk to you today about the process, what I learned in becoming a member and why I think it's worthwhile despite living in the UK. And of course, I've got some top tips for you as well. Ready? Welcome Royal Highnesses, I'm Dan and you're watching Walt Disney World Adults Only. If you're new to our channel, you're very, very welcome. If you're returning, thank you so much for continuing to support us. We really appreciate it. Anyway, today I want to talk to you about Disney Vacation Club, or DVC as it's more commonly known. So I have done something very exciting indeed, well exciting for me at least, and I kind of wanted to share the news with you today, but also break down my decision-making process so you can understand why DVC was right for me and potentially could save you quite a lot of money as well. This video is particularly relevant if you live in the UK or any other country outside of the US. I have to say that I'm so genuinely excited about this. It really is a dream come true for me. It really, really is. I will start off by telling you that I'm not a DVC salesperson. I'm not an expert, I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm giving you no advice at all. You will understand your own lifestyle, income, finances, and how often you plan to visit Walt Disney World in the future. So what was right for me will not necessarily be right for you, and my best advice is to do your own research and take your own advice from an expert before you make any big decision, because this is huge. So what is right for me will not necessarily be right for you, and the purpose of this video is to give you some information, my thought processes, what I learned along the way, and also a couple of money saving tips as well. I just said that I am not a DVC expert, and that is true, but I was super fortunate to have Emma on our WDWAO team, who's already a member, and also my friend Douglas over at the Carousel with Douglas YouTube channel as well. Emma was able to answer all of my questions and go away and find stuff out for me, and Douglas has got some really awesome videos full of DVC information on his YouTube channel, so I watched these videos and I also asked him a couple of questions as well, and again he was super helpful. Now I've been going to Walt Disney World since 1994, and in 2001 I went along to a kind of DVC sales presentation. I don't remember too much about it, but we were nabbed in downtown Disney as it was back then and offered some kind of incentive to go and listen to a presentation, which I think was at Old Key West. Anyway, the incentive was such we went along and we listened, and I was genuinely interested in becoming a DVC member way back in 2001. I was very interested, but at that stage in my life I just couldn't afford it. It was completely unrealistic for me. I just bought my first flat, taken out my first mortgage, and there was no prospect I could take on such a huge financial commitment at that stage in my life. But DVC was on my radar for sure, and it kind of has been ever since. Fast forward 21 years and I am still visiting Walt Disney World, and I do love a deluxe resort. And I'm paying an absolute fortune for them on every single trip. And of course the price each year is only going one way, and that is up. They're becoming more and more expensive every single year. I like to eat in table service and Disney signature fine dining restaurants too, and of course I'm aware that DVC members do get a discount in many of these restaurants. So DVC seemed like a potentially really good option for me and for my personal situation. So first of all, I wanted to look at the price. There is a tool on the DVC website which tells you the price per point and how much a contract would be for the total number of points that you decide to purchase. It also calculates roughly how many points you might need based upon your own circumstances, and the current price per point is $207. Now my dream resort to stay at has always been the Grand Floridian, and to my complete surprise, when I went to the website, the Grand Floridian was actually for sale. I had no idea at all, and this certainly made me even keener. I'd previously been told you could only buy new contracts at the Riviera Resort and at the one in Hawaii, but I guess it kind of made sense that also the Grand Floridian was now on sale, as they were in the process of converting an existing building into new DVC studios. As an aside, they're also now building some new DVC accommodation at the Polynesian Village Resort, so perhaps that will also be on sale soon too. My next question was, should I buy directly from Disney or should I look for a resale contract? I'd heard of people getting some really good deals buying resale contracts, far cheaper than you would get buying direct with Disney. But I also was aware there were some downsides to doing this as well. I remembered that there was some recent change where if you didn't buy 150 points directly from Disney, then you didn't get some of the discounts and benefits of being a DVC member. Basically, you didn't get what was known as the blue card. And so I really needed to know more about this and to understand what I would or wouldn't get if I didn't buy my contract directly through Disney. And fortunately for me, Douglas had an excellent video which fully explained this to me. Douglas gave the case for not needing these discounts and benefits, but the more I listened, the more I knew that I wanted them. So what was right for him was the opposite for me. And that is exactly why you need to do your own research too, as what is right for me may not be right for you and your personal circumstances. Now, these benefits do change, but in general terms they include discounts at restaurants, on merchandise, on annual passes and at special events too. And they give you access to the DVC Lounge at Epcot. Now, by buying a resale contract, I could have saved a lot of money, and I went to the sites, I did the research, I played with the numbers, and I could get points at the Grand Floridian for $170 a point. Now compare that to $207 a point, that's a lot of savings to be had. But you know, I really wanted that blue card and the benefits and discounts that come with it. There is also some restriction on resale contracts, which means you're unable to book the Riviera Resort or any future new DVC resorts that open. And I believe you cannot use the points for Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney, or also convert your points for use at other Disney resorts. Now, whilst I'm not desperate to stay at the Riviera Resort, and it does look lovely, but I'm not desperate to stay there could be some new resorts in the future that I really want to stay at, and I didn't want to restrict myself from being able to book rooms at these new resorts. So I made a decision. I was going to buy 150 points from Disney Direct to get that blue card and those discounts and benefits, and then top it up with some resale contracts as and when I could afford it. We had a trip coming up this year, and the discount at the restaurants alone is going to save us so much money. So you get between 10 and 20% off at most table service restaurants across Walt Disney World. For our trip in September, we currently have reservations for 22 table service restaurants. Now, some of these are breakfasts and some of them are signature dining, so the price is going to vary so much between each of these meals. But for the sake of this illustration, let's say that each of those 22 meals has got a bill of $100, and the discount we get is the lower discount of just 10%. So based on that, that would be a saving of $220 immediately on this first trip. And of course, our DVC contract lasts for 42 years. So times that by 42 and the saving is huge. And that isn't even mentioning the merch discounts. Now, I am not a merch person. I don't collect anything. So I will not be saving huge amounts of money on merch, but you might. I will just add in that you can also get these discounts by becoming an annual pass holder or a Disney Visa card holder. So this is not a reason to become a DVC member. You can achieve these discounts in other ways, but this is a side benefit, and for me, a really good benefit of becoming a DVC member. So that was savings on table service restaurants and merch. Now let's have a look at savings on hotel accommodation. Disney Deluxe resorts are currently in excess of $500 per night. So for a 14-night trip, which is what I currently take, that is $7,000 just for the resort hotel. Jeez, and that's a lot. We do get some really good deals in the UK, which sometimes include the free Disney dining plan. And so that price will sometimes include your food as well. Now, I am not telling you that you can get a 14-night stay at the Grand Floridian with 150 points. You simply cannot. But you can if you bank your points from one year and borrow from the next. It really is very flexible how it works. And of course, you can add on as well at any time. You can buy additional points either directly or through those resale contracts we talked about earlier. Now, you can get a studio at certain times of the year with 150 points at Animal Kingdom Lodge, Boardwalk Villas, Old Key West and the new Riviera Resort. Standard view, but with 150 points you could get a 2-week stay in a Disney Deluxe resort. I'm not saying that you want a standard view to stay at those times of the year or even a studio, but I'm just illustrating that 150 points could get you a 2-week stay. The more points you buy either initially or as subsequent additional contracts will mean that you have more flexibility over the size of the villa, the time that you can stay, the peak times of the year, and the nicer resorts as well. The point is that DVC is so flexible. Having run some calculations using the DVC tool, looking at the times of the year I like to stay and the duration, I realised that I would need at least 200 points. Probably 250 in fact, but I decided to start off with 150 points purchased directly from Disney. Then I would buy either 50 or 100 points on a contract later on when I was ready and when it was affordable. And by buying the 150 points now, it would get me those discounts off of all the table service restaurants on my upcoming trip, saving me at least $220. In fact, on my trip, I will keep a tally of all the discounts I get and all the savings I make, and then I'll do you a quick video to run through exactly what I saved on one trip. One quick thing I will just tell you about the resale contracts is that you cannot buy it straight away, and there's a reason for that. And that is because Disney retains a right of first refusal. So say I was buying 100 points from you and you were selling to me at $100 a point, we'd agreed a sale of $10,000 for your points being sold to me. We cannot close on that sale until Disney has the opportunity to buy them first at the price that we've agreed. And they are increasingly buying more and more contracts back. So with resale, you think you've got yourself a deal, but in the window of right of first refusal, Disney can come in and steal it right under your nose. So anyway, all decided, I was going to buy 150 points directly, and I went to the DVC website to make my purchase. I didn't really want to speak to anyone. I knew what I wanted and just wanted to purchase them. But oh no, this was apparently not an option for me. You cannot just go and buy points on the website. Who knew? So I went to the live chat on the website to ask how I could purchase them, and I spoke to a DVC guide called Jeff, who was super helpful. Jeff asked if he could do a Zoom call with me, and he literally ran over absolutely everything that I needed to know. Now Jeff told me there was an offer on, which meant if I bought 200 points instead of buying 150, I would get all of my points for $200 each rather than 207 each. So it was actually quite a good deal, and it made me think again about how many points I was going to buy directly. We ran over all of the other resorts. The DVC guides can actually sell you points for all resorts if they have the inventory. He told me that before the new Grand Floridian studios were being built, that points at the Grand Floridian were $255 per point. So to be getting these for $200 per point was actually a really good deal. He gave me prices at other resorts I was interested in, such as the Beach Club, Copper Creek and the Polynesian too, but these were all so much more than the offer on the Grand Floridian. And the Grand Floridian is my dream resort, so being able to book that one 11 months out, over 7 months if I was at a different resort, was a real factor in my decision making as well. He took some time to explain the limitations and restrictions of buying additional resale contracts, which was really useful information. So for example, if I bought 200 points at the Grand Floridian direct from Disney, and then bought a contract at Saratoga Springs resale for 50 points, I couldn't use 250 points at the Grand Floridian at the 11-month stage. I could only use my initial 200 points, or I'd have to wait until 7 months to use all 250 to book that resort. He also explained the benefits of matching up my usual month. So if I had one contract in February to try and get the resale one around the same time as well, or the points would renew at different times of the year, which would make booking extremely complicated. Finally, he reiterated the issue that I already knew about only being able to book the 14 original DVC resorts if you buy resale points. And again, that's something that would be really important if there was new resorts built that I wanted to stay at. So with all these things explained, with the $7 per point discount, and knowing that I would ultimately need at least 200 points, I decided to buy 200 points from Disney directly for the villas at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort. And these points are all for the same use year month and at the same resort too, which makes things much simpler as we go forward. Now onto financing. No, I do not have a spare $40,000 just tucked away sitting there for a rainy day. Being from the UK, I was not able to take advantage of the Disney finance option where you pay monthly over a 10-year period. And having looked into the Disney financing, this is good news, as the Disney financing is a really high interest rate. The rate offered is around 10%, which is super high and actually is going to cost you quite a lot more over the term of that 10-year loan. So if you're going to finance it like I did, make sure you look around and do your research on those interest rates, as I got it at a much lower rate and ultimately I'm going to pay a lot less for my DVC purchase than if I took the Disney financing. If you do decide to do Disney financing, then you have to put down 10% payment up front, and then you can pay the rest over 10 years at that high rate. I basically had some money saved which I used towards it, and then I financed the rest using a personal loan at 2.9% interest rate. 2.9% versus 10% is a huge saving, and of course I plan to pay that loan off quicker than the 7 years, saving me even more money. And my monthly loan payment is actually less than what I would put into a savings account each month to pay towards my Disney holiday. So really, it's not costing me very much at all in terms of what I would be saving anyway. Anyway, following my chat with Jeff, I became a DVC member instantly, which I couldn't believe. Jeff told me it was worth putting my contract into joint names with my partner, as it would mean we were both DVC members and would both get the blue card and all the discounts and benefits, so it kind of made sense to do it in joint names. It also would mean that if anything happened to either one of us, in the event of death, that the DVC contract would just continue in the survivor's name. Morbid, I know, but you have to think about these things sometimes. Jeff asked me to send over full details of myself and my partner, and almost instantly we became DVC members on the My Disney Experience app and on Magic Mobile as well. We got our cards straight away. Jeff also noted that for our trip in September that we could potentially use some of our points for part of that stay. We had 4 nights booked at Disney's Wilderness Lodge as part of this trip, and I'm going to tell you all about that trip in a future video. But using our points, he was able to book us a 1-bedroom villa at Boulder Ridge for the same 4 nights. The Walt Disney World travel company then refunded me back £1,900, or about $2,300 that we'd paid for those 4 nights. So instantly we were £1,900 up on the deal before we'd done or paid anything to DVC. That DVC contract was now down to $37,700 instead of $40,000, just by using it for part of this trip that we'd already paid for. Just on a quick side note, I've since changed this booking and we're no longer staying at Boulder Ridge. Instead, we're staying at the Grand Floridian, and we have got a DVC studio with a theme park view instead. But as I said before, I'm going to tell you all about our trip in a future video coming to you very soon. Make sure you're subscribed. Our contracts came through really efficiently, and we checked them, electronically signed them, and then returned them with scans of our passports. And that basically was it. They were checked for accuracy and completeness by the DVC team, and then a time was arranged for us to make our payment. On top of the DVC points, you also have to pay something called closing costs as well. This is a one-off payment which essentially I think includes a title search, title insurance, and all the document preparation and recording fees for the county where your property is located. Basically, the legal costs. Now, these closing costs will vary, but my closing costs for this contract was $796. Being from the UK and not being able to finance in the US, I had to pay the whole balance in one go. But DVC would not take a single cent from me until we had the 14-day calling off period, which is something which is legally required here in the UK for any financial commitment. Now, I have a really huge tip for you now that's going to save you potentially a lot of money, so listen up now. I was planning on using my American Express card to pay the whole balance and be rewarded with thousands of Avios points, which could have been used towards future trips. Do not do this. Now, I was just reading through randomly a Facebook group for DVC members, and I found a post about a lady that had just done exactly this. She paid her DVC purchase using her American Express card, and she got hit with a £1,200 fee for using her card on a foreign transaction. £1,200 extra just for paying with Amex. In terms of dollars, that's about $1,450. So I checked mine, and I would have been liable for the exact same percentage foreign transaction fee for my purchase as well. Just by reading that Facebook group, I saved myself so much money, and that's why I'm sharing this information with you here. Do not do this. Anyway, I was talking about this to some colleagues at work, and they told me about a card called Revolut that I'd never heard about before. And this is a kind of debit card account, but you can transfer your money into different currencies within your account, and there is no fee for paying foreign transactions in different currencies. This was a game changer for me. So have a look at Revolut, and there are other similar cards that do the same as well, but I'm only telling you about my experience. And again, I'm not giving you any financial advice, I'm just telling you my experience. I used something called Revolut, and it was revolutionary. Depending on which Revolut card you get unlimited foreign transactions. The good thing with it is that you can convert your money from pounds to dollars within your account when the rate is really good. And so by just moving your money across when a rate is high will save you so much money by just planning ahead. And I didn't know this, and I didn't factor this in, and actually I ended up paying more for my DVC than I could have done. I also used Revolut to pay my annual dues, which is something else we still need to talk about, and I haven't forgotten them. I'm going to come to them very, very shortly. If you do go for Revolut though, get it through Top Cashback, as you'll get even more money back. I'll put a link to Top Cashback for you in the description down below. So £1,200 fee dodged. Thank you so much, that lady, through sharing her misfortune. She's probably saved so many people so much money, and hopefully this video will save you some money too. One thing I will just say about the exchange rate is that if I was smarter and understood it better before I made this purchase, I could have saved myself even more money. When buying DVC, the exchange rate between the pound and the dollar is a huge consideration, and I completely missed it. So please don't do the same. I'm going to give you some figures now to illustrate why this is important. My exchange rate was around $1.26 to the pound, but this has since dropped to $1.19 to the pound. And if I'd have bought my DVC a year ago, it would have been $1.39 to the pound. So the exchange rates do change quite significantly. For the purpose of this illustration, we're going to use $40,000, which is what I paid for the points. We're going to ignore the closing cost just for the purpose of this illustration. When I paid in May, it cost me £31,746. If I bought this now, it would cost me £33,613. But if I'd have bought this contract a year ago, it would have cost me only £28,776. So the same points, almost £3,000 cheaper a year ago, just because of the exchange rate. So if I buy more points in the future, I will definitely be checking out the exchange rate and making my purchase at a time when the exchange rate is really good. Even in the space of just 2 months, if I was to buy this contract now, this would cost me £1,867 more just because of the exchange rate. So on a big purchase like this, exchange rate really matters. And I guess for most people, this is obvious and common sense, but it completely passed me by, and I don't want it to pass you by as well. So make sure if you're going to do this, you watch the exchange rate and even convert your money in your Revolut account or whatever you have into dollars while you can, so that the money's there at the better rate for you to make your purchase. So if you're going to buy DVC, my biggest tip of today is to watch the exchange rate like a hawk, like an actual hawk. Do not be me. A little while ago, I mentioned annual dues, and this is probably the worst thing about DVC. So again, you need to understand this, and you need to factor this in to your finances, because you have to pay this, as the name suggests, every year. I guess DVC is a form of timeshare, and every timeshare has some kind of annual due equivalent. As you can probably tell from the title, this is a fee you're required to pay every year for upkeep. price varies by resort, and for the Grand Floridian, the current annual dues fee is $7 per point. So if you're going to buy DVC, you need to factor in this annual charge and ensure you budget for it as well. And as this is paid in dollars too, you will need some way of making this payment in a kind of cost effective way. You don't want to be paying foreign transaction charges. And back to my currency rant, if you can, transfer your money into dollars at a time when the rate is good. This will save you so much money over the course of your contract. And going back to Revolut, and I promise you I'm not a salesperson for them and I get no commission for telling you this, but the Revolut app allows you to set alerts which tell you when exchange rates reach certain levels, so you can put alerts on and you'll get a notification on your phone to tell you it's a good time to transfer your money. That is certainly what I'm doing now. And just like that, we closed. I received an email to confirm that we were registered with Orange County, and I was even able to search their website to find my title deed. And then in the post, I received this. I was a little over the moon. Will I buy more points in the future? I would guess so, although 200 points is enough for now to get a 2-week break at Walt Disney World. And other than annual dues, I now no longer need to pay for my accommodation when staying at Walt Disney World. I can bank points and borrow points, and if I wasn't going to use them, I could even rent them out. That's extremely unlikely though. So in summary, I am delighted, ecstatic in fact. I am so happy that I am now a DVC member. And at my dream resort as well. The process was simple and I did everything from here in the UK. I saved some money through finding my own finance, although UK residents are not eligible for the DVC Disney Finance scheme anyway. I did save some money by not using my Amex card and by finding a way of doing it without paying a foreign transaction fee on such a large sum of money. But I did lose out a bit because of the exchange rate, and that is a lesson learned. Hopefully you've got it now. Being DVC members, we're now going to save so much money on restaurants and on merch as well. And for 2022, we've used just over half of our points. So that means that for 2023, we've got 296 points, which is more than enough to get a really good stay there again next year. And of course, if we wanted something really special or wanted to take family and friends with us, we could borrow from 2024 allocation as well and get something amazing. So for our next trip, we'll be paying for flights and theme park tickets and food only. That is going to save us so much money on the trip next year. They say you break even with DVC after about 5 years, and I'll certainly be keeping a tally on that. After all, let's be honest, those prices for hotel stays at Disney are only going to go one way. DVC appears to be right for me. Is it for you? Tell me in the comments down below. And feel free to ask any questions that you have as well. As I've said to you before, I'm not a DVC expert. I've certainly learned a lot on this journey to becoming a DVC member, and I'm happy to share any knowledge I have with you or point you in the right direction if I do not know. So please, any questions down below for me as well. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you've liked it, please give us a big thumbs up. And also share it with your friends who might be interested in DVC too. If you like our channel, please subscribe and hit that bell so you know when our videos land. If you're not a member of our incredible adult-only Facebook group, join us there today. We talk about all stuff like this. I'll link it for you down below. And as always, remember, never grow up.